Well, welcome, 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 our beloved colleague Pedro. We so appreciate your leadership. And at SETSI, as always, we begin all things by acknowledging our creator, by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands we're on. We acknowledge all our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all our elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, and learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So Pedro, can you please introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers and share a bit about your remarkable work?
Thank you so much for the invitation, Victor. My name is Pedro Barata. I'm the Executive Director of the Future Skills Center. At the Future Skills Center, we are driving skills innovation across the country. Right now, we're working with about 220 partners in every part of the country, in every sector. And we're experimenting and we're testing and learning from new approaches to how it is that we can equip both people and employers with new ways to acquire skills, to understand why skills is so important for business strategies and for personal success, and also thinking about what does that mean in terms of systems change? How is it that we can take what we learn through innovation pilots and share that in a way that can be replicated and expanded and scaled through a look at systems like policy, for example.
That's incredible. It's incredible. Thank you so much for your consistent visionary leadership. So what's inspiring you right now in your current work?
Oh my goodness. There's when you work with so many people from across the country that are they're in community and that are working with people on the ground, for an organization that sort of has a pan-Canadian vantage point, you really get a lot of energy from seeing people address challenges in the here and now with a future orientation, and spending time with partners, discussing their work, talking about what's working, not working, how they're pivoting. That always inspires me, and it can be conversations that we have with Indigenous-led organizations in Canada's north, which are a place where I don't spend enough time in, and where I'm aware of a lot of the challenges, a lot of the barriers in terms of working to equip people with the skills that they need now and into the future, and just seeing the leadership that's happening up in Canada's north by Indigenous communities to continue to fight hard. To make sure that everybody has a stake in our future, but I see that right across the country, and I'm inspired, and I remain hopeful. I remain hopeful that despite everything that we're facing, both locally, nationally, as well as globally, and how hard it is right now, that we have a lot of people who are working to make things better.
Indeed, indeed, I couldn't agree more. So do you have a set of key priorities right now in your work that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, so we've been at this work for about 4 years, and we started out with a very broad portfolio that was essentially asking the ecosystem of universities, colleges, community-based organizations, sector-based councils, labor unions to come forward with their best ideas and their best thinking for where innovation needed to happen and where resources were required. And after 4 years of this work, we've zeroed in on where we need to spend more time and where the opportunities are for us to take our work to the next level and add value to what's already happening. And some of those areas are the area around sustainability of the economy, and the role that skills development and skills innovation really has to play from the ground up as we go from sort of the big vision to the solutions that really have to come from one region, one sector, one community at a time, and figuring out how through workforce development, through rewiring how we currently do workforce development at the regional level, we can actually build the roadmaps that are going to be necessary to drive sustainability and make sure that people are driving sustainability at the local level. So that's one area of focus. We're also just mindful that so much of the economic activity in Canada is driven by small, medium enterprises. Over 90% of private sector jobs are in SMEs. It's a very marked feature of the Canadian economy. And of course, if you're a small, medium enterprise and you're looking at, the the supply chain for sustainability, or the onset of AI, or the fact that our labor force and demographics is going to be increasingly about diversity and the need to be inclusive. For a lot of SMEs, like the capacity, right, the literacy around inclusion, AI, sustainability, where do you turn to? You don't have the bandwidth, you don't have the partners, like you don't have the resources. Like the case for releasing some of your employees, there might be one or two of them. The case for releasing them and actually letting them spend a couple of hours learning something new maybe isn't as strong yet. And so a lot of our focus is actually to work with sector councils and actually with chambers of commerce across the country to really spend time with small, medium enterprises and learn what would need to be true for skills development to become a bigger part of how they do business and their winning business strategy. So we've prototyped a new learning management system working in 4 provinces with 4 chambers. We want to expand that to every part of the country and really start to provide a curated experience that we know, based on our research, SMEs will actually use and see value in, and start to create platforms that allow for SMEs to keep up with the times, right, and not feel like they're falling behind. And I'll also mention that the whole area of inclusion, reconciliation remains front and center in terms of our work. We remain very committed to supporting organizations that are really looking at community-led ways to drive skills development, and to do it in a way that's very holistic, and that recognizes that skills is part of the solution, but is not the whole solution to how it is that we're going to drive inclusion. And there are a lot of organizations across Canada that are doing great work, and often at the margins, and often get left out in some of our funding exercises. So we have a long way to go, but we're trying to get stronger and get better and better at making sure that we're not just funding the organizations that already have capacity, that already know how to write proposals, but really looking at the entire ecosystem and how we can get behind some of the new ideas that need to see the light of day.
I couldn't agree more. That's absolutely incredible. And I know that for almost a year, I participated in your social innovation sounding board. And I can tell you right now, your staff and your team truly centers justice, access, inclusion, diversity, and equity in everything you do. So once again, I applaud you for your visionary leadership and your consistent commitment to community economic development. So that leads us to my next question. How do you feel about the future of skills development and skills innovation across Canada?
We need more. We need more of a focus on skills development, and to do it in an innovative way, given all of the challenges that are coming at us. I'll just give you a quick example. As you know, when we talk about the future of work, we tend to think about, immediately jump to the sort of the AI stuff. Even in that area, we know that Canada's adoption is already falling behind, right? In terms of whether businesses are adopting AI practices and AI education or skills development within their workplaces. I think the overall number is 4%. And that number is even lower when it comes to small, medium enterprises, and we know why. So I think that should be a cause for concern, right? That we know that we need to ramp up our ability to adapt and to prepare for the changes that will continue to come in our direction. And right now, frankly, this is not an area where there's enough investment, and also where there's enough coordination. I think we have a lot of activity happening in various parts of the country, and it's sometimes difficult for people to see over boundaries, right? And for people to see across jurisdictions. So not only do we need to invest at the local level, we need to put workforce development, skills development front and center. We need to make sure that small, medium enterprises have the resources that they need to be able to also keep up with all the changes. We also need to continue to invest in infrastructure that allows us to talk to each other, to learn from each other, and to make sure that that we're all benefiting from the best ideas, no matter how far away they may be from where we live. And I think that that's one of the things that I think our ecosystem is going to continue to need. It's those intermediary organizations. It's those organizations that are not there necessarily to deliver a service, right, or to work directly with business, but that are creating a sum that's bigger than all the parts, understand the importance of technical assistance, understand the importance of research, evaluation, learning, creating communities of practice, and just and making sure that somebody's responsible for keeping us all at our best and keeping us together. And having more of that in our ecosystem is something that I'm hopeful we're driving in terms of a lesson learned, and that hopefully we'll continue to see more and more of it.
Ashe, I couldn't agree more. We need infrastructure and we need innovation, but most importantly, we need to find ways and means to coordinate the collaboration that's essential for our survival. Because there's many places on the planet where social innovation isn't a nice to do. It's literally about life and death. So I couldn't applaud you more for the way you're conceptualizing this work and the work that you and your colleagues are doing. So this is my second last question. What is your ultimate goal and what does success look like to you and your colleagues?
My ultimate goal is that organizations that operate in the area of skills development get more and more comfortable in terms of trying things out that may not fit their current plan. That we have the permission, the safety net, and are celebrated for true learning in terms of trying things and saying this worked and this didn't and this is why. And I'm sharing that with the entire ecosystem so that we can all benefit from that learning. And that at a systems level, that systems players are actually incentivizing that kind of experimentation, new approaches, right? Investing in new kinds of organizations, collaboration, right? Intermediaries, learning, and that this really becomes a feature of how we move forward together. I think, innovation is just a word, unless we're ready to operationalize it. And operationalizing it means, all of those features that I just described in terms of creating the conditions where we can actually do things differently and learn what works and doesn't, share it with each other, and then start to adopt it at a systems level for a virtuous cycle. That's ultimately what we're trying to accomplish. It's just to look up, to look ahead, and to start to work now in terms of getting us there.
Ashe, amen, amen. I couldn't agree more. Let's look up and let's look ahead. So my last question, do you have any closing thoughts or call to actions for our listeners and our viewers?
I mean, I want to thank you, and I want to congratulate you for the work that you do. I know I always appreciate that you reach out, and I know you do that with many other people, and you're very intentional about having these conversations. Today we're recording it, but frankly, we have a conversation like this every time we talk. And the fact that you are at the center or a hub of actually spending your time weaving together conversations from people who might pass each other in a hallway, but not always go very deep. I think that's key. I mean, like one of the things about our work at FSC that we're really trying to drive is that we're not going to solve problems by going one person, one organization at a time. Like we need intermediary muscle. We need people who care about collaboration and networks. And you're one of those people, Victor. And I want to thank you for that work, because sometimes I know it can be thankless. It doesn't always come with the biggest paychecks either in terms of organizational funding. But I think it's really, really important, and we need more of it.
I couldn't agree more. Fast alone or far together. And we've been walking together for many years, my friend. So I greatly appreciate you on behalf of me, my colleagues, my team, my family, and all those that are listening and viewing. You're a truly remarkable soul, and I just appreciate all you stand for and the kind words and warm sentiments you just shared with me and my colleagues. It takes a village, it truly does. And we'll close this interview the way we began, by one, thanking you for your leadership, your visionary leadership, and acknowledging our creator, acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands we're on. We acknowledge all our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all our elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, and learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. Thank you so much, Pedro. We appreciate you, our beloved colleague.
Thank you, Victor and team.